our aim for this webinar is, first of all, to share with you what's been missing from your business efforts so far. So how your brain has been keeping you stuck up until now and what you can do about that. We also are going to let you know how you can completely revolutionize your business results by gaining control over your brain chemistry and changing your brain's GPS. And so that your brain's GPS matches the results you want to get in your business, and then the results are automatic, just like when you set your GPS in your vehicle to go from where you are now to your desired destination. And the third thing is there is nothing to buy on this webinar. So you can't buy anything here. We're not going to sell you anything. Toward the end of the webinar, we will let you know about our accelerated business transformation program in case you're interested in that, and we will let you know how to go about finding out more about that. But you can sit back and relax. There's nothing to buy here. And then finally, we will answer your questions. So at the end, we'll have a live Q&A and answer whatever questions you have. So if you have questions that you would like us to answer today, if you could pop those into the Q&A box rather than the chat, because the chat's probably going to be quite busy. We may miss them there. So if you put your questions specifically that you would like us to answer into the Q&A box, we will answer those at the end of this webinar. And as I say, Steve will be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A as we go. So I know that most of you joining us here today are coaches, and according to the International Coaching Federation, 82% of coaching businesses fail within the first 2 years, which is a horrific number. And over 50% of coaches earn less than $1,000 per month. So if you are currently struggling with your coaching business, not only are you not alone, but you're actually in the majority. And what we're going to share with you today is how to get into that 18% of coaching businesses that succeed and earn a decent income. Now, from our own experience as coaches and from coaches we've worked with, we've discovered 5 main challenges that most coaches deal with. And let us know in the chat box which of these you can identify with, which of these you've experienced yourself. The first is building an audience, but getting hardly any engagement. And I know I see a lot of this on social media in general, but also especially LinkedIn. So I see so many coaches and other business owners posting content that's really good, but they're not getting any responses or very few responses. The second challenge we found is not being able to get your voice heard amongst the crowd, and being overshadowed by more established coaches and bigger businesses. The third one is not being able to reach the right kind of person. The fourth is not being able to be consistent in creating and posting original content. And so, we know that in order to reach the people we can help, we need to be heard. We need to be creating content and posting it daily. And we need to be creating that content in our own voice. And what I've also seen a lot of on LinkedIn in particular is people sharing reposting other people's content, which is fine. But if that's all you're doing, or mostly what you're doing, of course, your audience is not getting to know you at all. So, it's more difficult to find your clients if they are not getting to know you. So, posting original content, if you're not able to do that right now, posting your own content in your own voice daily, so consistently, then what we share with you today is going to help you with that. And then finally, self-doubt and imposter syndrome, which Steve and I have both experienced, and which is a lot more common than most people realize. And of course, that's also what affects the other items on that list. So let us know in the chat which of those you can identify with. So why do 82% most coaching businesses fail? Some people feel that it is lack of business skills, and that seems to make sense because as coaches, we love working with our clients. We know that we can help them, so we're focused on that. And very often we don't have the business skills. The second item that a lot of people think is a factor in failure, business failure, coaching businesses failing, is lack of marketing or sales skills. And finally, some people feel that the coaching market is saturated. So let's look at these. The first, lack of business skills. I don't think that's a factor because business skills are not something you're born with. They're something that can be learned. So even as coaches, we can learn business skills. Now, some people do learn them and others don't. And the difference between those who learn business skills and those who don't is something we're going to look at during this webinar. But I don't think that's a factor in whether a coaching business is successful or not. The same goes for marketing skills and sales skills. The coaching market being saturated is, if you think about it, there are so many more people in the world who need our help than there are coaches to serve them. So the coaching market is not saturated. That's not why most coaching businesses fail. Steve and I have gone through so many business books, coaching programs, advice, trying to find what makes the difference between people who succeed and people who don't, and all the different methods and modalities out there. In addition to all the business advice and systems and programs, we've also gone through all of the self-development stuff, the spiritual stuff, you name it, we've tried it. And we didn't find the answers in any of that. What we did discover is there are three main reasons that hold most coaches and other business owners back. The first is not having control over their own brain chemistry. And control over your own brain chemistry means control over your emotions and your cognitive thinking, your ability to think clearly, strategize, problem solve, and be creative. The second reason is their brain's GPS is still set for past results instead of being aligned with their goals and dreams and the results they want to achieve. And finally, they don't know how to change that GPS to match the results that they want. So today we're going to cover three different sections. The first, I'm going to go into your gaining control over your brain chemistry and your brain's GPS and how to change that so that you can level up your business and it'll give you the advantage over everyone else in your field. The second section will be how to get real world results for your business by gaining control over your brain. And then finally, the system we use that makes getting those results easier and quicker. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail on who we are and much about us. If you want to know more than we share here, you're very welcome to ask us questions. But we want to give you a little bit of an overview so that you know why we're sharing this and how we know it works. So I'm going to hand over to Steve first.
Great. Thanks, Odile. And I just wanted to give you a couple of little snapshots of my professional career, kind of before and after using what we're sharing with you here today. So up until about 2017, I had started multiple businesses that ultimately failed because I couldn't attract enough of clients. And that was primarily due to some old self-worth issues. I was significantly undercharging for my services. And even though I had other people coaching me to raise my prices, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And I was struggling with promoting myself, and I was really very anxious about getting on camera. And I was dealing with imposter syndrome. And I was constantly worried about what other people were thinking about me. I had a really a huge fear of rejection. And the other key thing for me was that I absolutely hated sales, and I did everything to avoid sales related kind of things. And as a result, I had a terrible track record, and I just couldn't imagine reaching out and doing even more sales calls. So if you would type one in the chat if any of that feels familiar for you. So when I discovered and started putting into practice the information that we're sharing with you here today, my life and business skills changed completely. And now instead of hating and feeling miserable at sales, I actually enjoy the sales process. And this past year, I was able to enroll 36 high ticket clients into our top tier coaching program. And now I'm able to comfortably get on the camera and we do live regular live streams on YouTube. And I've been able to erase that imposter syndrome, and I'm no longer worried about what everybody thinks about me. So, using what we're going through in this webinar has automatically led me to making different decisions, taking different actions that has led to the life led to the life that I now live. I'm living life on my terms. I'm happily married. I'm enjoying traveling. I'm doing the work that I'm love, that I'm passionate about, and I have the ability to spend a lot of time with my friends and family. Odile, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Yes, so before I met Steve in 2017, so up until 2016, I had a lifelong pattern of low self-esteem, low self-worth. I was easily overwhelmed. I was terrified of people not liking me. I was helping others, but I couldn't help myself. So a lot of imposter syndrome there. I had 25 years of various failed businesses. I was a people pleaser, unable to pay my bills, and I was cleaning other people's houses because I couldn't make a living from being a coach. After using what we're going to share with you today, not only was I able to pay my bills, but I was also traveling internationally, which is how I met Steve. And I became comfortable charging what I'm worth, no more people pleasing. And I started to feel authentically confident and no longer worried about what other people would think. And so all of that led to living a life I love. So I now live in America, which is where I'd always wanted to live. And I became an American citizen, which was a dream of mine. And our lives are now so much more relaxed and more fun than I had ever experienced in my life before. I also ended up owning 3 of the rental properties that I used to clean. So we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on marketing consultants, training, courses, you name it, we've tried it. And our income was a roller coaster, and we were attracting the wrong people. Using what we now teach our clients, we found the right people to work with. We had our first 6-figure revenue year in 2023, and we're now attracting wonderful clients. So the reason we work with coaches specifically is that there are coaches out there, and you may be one of them, who have solutions to problems and can help people, but they never reach those people because their doubts and fears are stopping them from sharing those solutions and taking the actions that would get them in front of those people. So empowering even just one coach can have a ripple effect. And the reason we're so passionate about this is because this is not just about helping coaches. This is about the people whose lives will be forever impacted because those coaches were able to do what they do best. So our mission is to empower 1,000 coaches to use their coaching to transform 1 million lives. So starting with control over your own brain. And before we move on to the brain's GPS, we need to take a look at gaining control of your own brain chemistry, because that's what affects everything else. The reason for gaining control over your brain chemistry is because marketing, sales, and all other activities that you take in your business are useless without this control. And I'm going to break it down a little bit. So we know we need to create content to to reach people, to reach our ideal clients, and for them to get to know us. But trying to create content without this control over your own brain means not being able to come up with ideas, not knowing what to say, putting it off, not getting around to it, unable to be consistent, a fear of what others will think, and other blocks. Engaging with prospective leads, again, without control over your own brain, can result in fear of rejection, not knowing what to say, feeling inauthentic, feeling overwhelmed, and being limited by people pleasing. If your business model relies on sales calls, you may find yourself avoiding them, or not do, or when you do them, you may find that you're affected by imposter syndrome, fear of rejection. You may hate selling like Steve used to, self-doubt, fear of failure. All of those things either prevent you from making the calls at all, or will affect how you're speaking with people and whether you get the result from the call or not. You may feel, I'll do paid advertising, or I'll pay someone else to do my marketing for me. And that could work, except that without control over your own brain and making sure that your GPS is in alignment with what you want, you may find yourself choosing the wrong people to work with, or making the wrong financial decisions, losing money, and it affects your judgment and your risk assessment. And you may find yourself like one of our clients, constantly taken advantage of. So if you wanted to drive from the city to the beach and you didn't know how to drive your vehicle, of course, you wouldn't get very far. And that's the analogy we use for gaining control over your brain chemistry. Taking action, any action in your business, without control over your brain chemistry is like trying to go somewhere without knowing how to drive the vehicle you're driving. All negative emotions are a level of the fight, freeze, flight emergency state. And so whenever you're feeling a negative emotion, your brain is producing stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol. And those are the same chemicals that are produced when your life is in danger. So whenever you're feeling any negative emotion, your brain and body are in the same state they would be if you were faced with a wild animal. And one of the effects of those chemicals, like adrenaline and cortisol, is that they cause blood to drain from the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is where we do our cognitive thinking, to the back of the brain for survival. Because when you're faced with a bear, there's no time to negotiate or problem solve. You need to act instantly and instinctively, and that's what the back of the brain is for. So you may have noticed that when you've been triggered in an encounter with someone, emotionally triggered in an encounter with someone, that it's only later that you think of all the things you could have said or should have said. Let us know in the chat if you're familiar with that experience. And the reason for that is because when you were triggered, in that moment you were feeling emotionally triggered, the blood had drained from the prefrontal cortex of your brain to the back of your brain as part of that fight, freeze, flight state, which meant you didn't have access to your cognitive thinking. Then later, as those stress chemicals started to come down, blood started to return to that part of your brain, and then you could think clearly again. That's why you could think of those things that you couldn't think of before. So trying to take any action in your business while you're in a negative emotional state is like trying to drive your vehicle with the handbrake on. So to release the handbrake, when the stress chemicals come down and we start producing feel-good chemicals like endorphins, serotonin, and oxytocin, blood then returns to the prefrontal cortex and we can think clearly again. So thoughts are physical connections between neurons, which are nerve cells in the neocortex of the brain. And those connections between neurons trigger matching chemicals. So as you have a thought, a negative thought, the connection between neurons for a negative thought will trigger the production of stress chemicals like endorphins and serotonin, like adrenaline and cortisol. And when you think of something that feels good, so you think of something you're grateful for, someone you love, something you're looking forward to, the connection between those nerve cells, as you think of the positive thing, triggers the production of endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin. those feel-good chemicals. It takes just 60 to 90 seconds to switch your brain and body from stress chemicals to feel-good chemicals, as long as you're keeping your focus off the negative and on the positive for just that minute and a half. But the challenge is, for most of us, when we have that negative thought, we feel the effect of the stress chemicals, so we feel the negative feeling. We then think about the negative feeling and we add other negative thoughts to it. We go into all the connected negative thoughts, and every one of those negative thoughts, the connections between neurons, triggers stress chemicals, restarting that 90-second clock each time. So that's one challenge with it. The second thing is that it's easier to feel bad than to feel good, because stress chemicals are stronger than feel-good chemicals, because they're for survival. So the brain is designed to focus on the danger, of course. And that's why it's easier to focus on the negative, because it's more important to focus on the bear that's going to attack us instead of while we're looking at the pretty flowers. So here's a real life example. When Swasti came to us, she wanted to be a doctor, and she'd been applying to medical schools. She was very self-conscious and anxious. She had a fear of what other people would think. She couldn't get the grades she needed to get into medical school, and other people were getting offers, and while she was being turned down. She had trouble concentrating. She suffered from overwhelm, procrastination. She was overworking, but not getting any results. And she was filled with fear and self-doubt. We taught Swasti our techniques for gaining control over brain chemistry, and along with changing her GPS, but just the brain chemistry alone allowed her to get higher marks than she was expecting, than she needed for the exam. She ended up getting into her first choice medical school, not just any medical school, but her top choice. She has just recently passed her third year assessments, and she's starting her second to last year of medical school next month. So, excuse me. I'll just take a sip of water. So here's something for coaches in particular. There's a future doctor who would not exist if she hadn't gained control over her brain. And the reason I'm saying it's for coaches in particular is because there are people out there whose lives will be impacted and leveled up in ways that they couldn't imagine, because you were able to overcome your blocks and gain control over your brain. So, also as a bonus, Swasti also went from being self-conscious, worried about what others would think, fear and anxiety, to creating her own YouTube channel. So we're very, very proud of her. So now that you know about your brain chemistry and how that works, let's go on to the brain's GPS. What's the difference between someone like Alex Hormozi, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, and you? What's the difference between all those people who are able to achieve success in all different fields, from all different backgrounds, and those who work really hard, try really hard, and even follow the advice of some of these people, and yet can't get the results? The difference is not personality, because of course there's all kinds of different personalities who are successful, including introverts. It's not opportunities, it's not resources, it's not their background, of course. It's not even determination or motivation or hard work, because there are plenty of people, and I was one of them, who have that determination, who have that motivation, who are very positive and who work really hard, and yet never get the results. It's not skills or knowledge. It's not time. It's not training or coaching, of course. It's not discipline. It's not connections or relationships. It's not visualization or affirmations or even massive action, Because again, there are people doing visualization, affirmations, taking massive action who never get the results anyway. The key difference between those who succeed and those who can't seem to succeed is that the brain contains evidence that proves our unconscious self-image. So their brains, those who succeed, their brains contain unconscious evidence that proves their successful self-image, while your brain at the moment contains unconscious evidence that proves your limiting self-image. And here's what's really important. That evidence is not necessarily true. And I'll go into what that means and how you can change that evidence, of course. If you wanted to drive from the city to the beach, and so you know how to drive the vehicle now, but if your GPS was still set for the city, then of course, every time you start heading toward the beach, your GPS would turn you around and guide you back to the city. And in the same way, your brain is always keeping you in alignment, not with what you want, not with your conscious goals or desires and intentions, but with your implicit childhood memories. So what is implicit memory? If you were to look outside and notice it was raining, how do you know it's rain? How do you know it's not dangerous? And how do you know that if you walk out into it, you'll get wet? You probably can't remember how you learned about rain, but the information is stored in your brain as implicit memory. So it's something you just know. So as we go about our lives, as we interact with the world, the information we receive through our senses enters the back of the brain first, and it's assessed. The unconscious part of the brain refers to implicit childhood memories that determine what this experience means, whether it's dangerous or not, and how we should respond automatically. That unconscious part of the brain then triggers chemicals that cause emotions and feelings, and then the conscious mind responds automatically. And of course, the key here is that all of that happens without our conscious awareness. So we think we're making conscious decisions and we're reacting consciously to things, but all of that is going on in the background. That's why it's so difficult to change our core beliefs and our behaviors, because while we are consciously trying to change them, in the background, the brain is referring to evidence that proves those limiting beliefs and behaviors. It's also why different people experience and respond to the same situations differently, because in the background, each individual's brain is referring to different implicit childhood memories that prove their self-image and worldview. So is this making sense so far? And let us know in the chat, put a 2 in the chat if this is a light bulb moment for you. So what makes the difference between you and someone who's already built a successful business is that your brain contains unconscious evidence that it's not safe to do so, while the other person's brain does not contain that evidence. So the brain's GPS is implicit childhood memories. And here's another real life example of how this works. So Peter when Peter came to us, he'd already built a successful 7-figure Facebook marketing agency. He had struggled his way to success, though. So he was successful, but he had a pattern of struggle. He was working up to 14-hour days. He wasn't getting the results he wanted, and he couldn't level up his business in the way he wanted because he felt like there was a glass ceiling that was keeping him from doing that. We helped Peter to change his brain's GPS using our 3-step system, which is gaining control over his brain chemistry, finding the implicit negative childhood memories that were causing that pattern of struggle, and then changing those memories to the opposite, positive and empowering, to match the results he wanted. And he was able to, he leveled up his income revenue increased by 25% in the first month. He no longer was self-sabotaging. He didn't feel like an imposter anymore. his anxiety levels dropped, his health improved, and he no longer had that pattern of constant struggle. So I did at one of my workshops that I did a few months ago, someone asked me the question, what about successful people who had difficult childhoods but haven't changed their childhood memories? How come they're successful without having to do all this? And I thought that was such a great question that I wanted to include the answer here for you as well. So first of all, every individual has different combinations of references. So it's a unique combination for each person, of course. If it was just a case of, be positive, work harder, massive action, visualization, affirmations, and all of that, then those things would work for everyone. But they don't. They don't work for everyone. They work for some people. And also, what we perceive as success is not always accurate. You may be able to think of some celebrities who seem to have it all, but it turned out they were suffering without anyone knowing. So somebody can appear to be, can have success in their career or financial things or their business, but they may be suffering, they may have their negative childhood memories may be causing relationship issues or emotional health issues or mental health issues or physical health even. So think of a Rubik's Cube. To solve this Rubik's Cube, you would need to twist all the blocks until you end up with 6 sides that are a solid color each. But how would you solve this Rubik's Cube that has too many red squares and not enough green? So some cubes can be solved by twisting the blocks until you end up with the 6 sides, and it may take longer for some than others depending on where they are when you start out. But for others, no amount of twisting those blocks is ever going to end up with 6 sides of a solid color each. So how would you solve this Rubik's Cube? You need to replace the red squares with green squares. Then you can solve it and end up with 6 sides of the same color. And in the same way, for some of us, we need to change the structure of our self-image and worldview in order for any of those other things to work for us. I hope that makes sense. So let's move on to setting your own coordinates, so changing the brain's GPS. Implicit memories created in childhood provide the evidence that proves our unconscious self-image and worldview. The unconscious part of the brain is constantly referring to those implicit memories and then triggering chemicals that cause emotions and feelings. And then, of course, the conscious mind responds automatically. So in order to change the brain's GPS to match the results we want, we need to change the original negative implicit childhood memories to match the results we want. But can memories really be changed? Well, according to the latest in neuroscience, not only can memories be changed, they're already changing and updating. So you may have found that when you are speaking with family or friends about an event that you all experienced, everyone seems to have their own version of what happened. And the reason for that is that memories are neither accurate nor permanent in the first place. And finally, the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. So it can't tell the difference between the real memory and the fake memory. It can't use logic or reason, and it can't judge something as unrealistic. So if you've ever seen a scary movie, you may have noticed that you feel the fear as if the threat is real. Even though you consciously know it's just a movie, your brain and body go into that same fear state it would if you were in real danger. And you'll have noticed that even if it's unrealistic, you still feel that fear. So even though you know there are no dinosaurs anymore, Jurassic Park will still give you that fear effect. And that's because the unconscious part of your brain doesn't know there aren't dinosaurs anymore. So considering our implicit childhood memories prove our self-image and worldview, and memories are already changing anyway, and the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, can't use logic or reason, and can't judge something as unrealistic, we can create new evidence that proves the results we want to experience instead of the default settings. Now, a question we get frequently is, isn't that brainwashing yourself or gaslighting yourself? So think of it this way. When you change your GPS to go from wherever you are now to the new destination, the GPS itself will accept the new coordinates and guide you to that new destination, while you as the driver still know where you were before. So you're not pretending, you're not gaslighting yourself. In the same way, the unconscious part of your brain will accept the new childhood memories as evidence of your new self-image and the results you want to achieve, while you will still consciously remember what originally happened. So there's no brainwashing or gaslighting involved. So here are a few of the real-world effects on your business of changing these memories. If you currently struggle with creating original content and being consistent with it, maybe you're worried about what others will think, or you can't think of the ideas, you don't know what to say, or you have any kind of resistance, maybe you don't even know why you don't do it, changing the original implicit negative childhood memories that are creating that resistance for you will automatically result in you being able to come up with creative ideas, because you'll have your prefrontal cortex online. You will be able to speak in your own voice and with authentic confidence. And a bonus is, instead of having to make yourself do this activity, you'll actually enjoy it and look forward to it. And of course, that will result in you automatically being able to get your business in front of the right people and to be able to stand out from the crowd. If you currently struggle with feeling self-conscious, or you have people-pleasing tendencies, or you feel overwhelmed, or you have self-doubt, procrastination, not knowing what to say, imposter syndrome, all of those things, again, changing the implicit negative childhood memories that are creating those things will result in you automatically having authentic confidence, being able to think clearly and articulate clearly. And of course, all of that will result in you being able to connect with people in an authentic, natural way and feel comfortable while doing it. And if you hate sales like Steve used to, or perhaps you avoid sales calls altogether, or you dread them, if you have a fear of rejection, you don't have confidence, or you feel inauthentic, again, changing the original implicit negative childhood memories that are creating your limiting self-image right now will result in you automatically feeling confident and comfortable and enjoying the process and being able to connect with people, which of course will result in you working with your ideal clients who are able to pay you what you want and what you deserve, because you'll feel comfortable with that. So changing your negative implicit childhood memories is the way to put yourself into that 18% of successful coaching businesses that actually make it. And here's another real life example. So when Deborah came to us, so Deborah runs her own emotional intelligence business. She wasn't making enough money in her business. She was stuck. She said she felt like she was taking 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. She'd done a lot of courses and read a lot of books on money making and business success. And she mentioned T. Harv Eker as one of those courses that she did. But she worked really hard, but she couldn't break the cycle of constant financial struggle. She had a lot of self-doubt, procrastination, freezing. She spoke about not being able to get her fingers to move on the keyboard. She would freeze so much. So we helped her to find and change the implicit childhood memories of betrayal that were keeping her stuck financially. So interestingly, those childhood memories that were causing those problems for her had nothing to do with money. They were about feeling betrayed. So we helped her to find and change those using our 3-step system. So gaining control over her brain chemistry, finding those memories, and then being able to change them and make them match the results she wanted. And she no longer has procrastination or freezing. She doesn't dread the work anymore. She found herself jumping out of bed, feeling excited to take action and level up her business. No more self-doubt. And as a bonus, she also ended up automatically feeling comfortable charging more than she was charging. So she'd been wanting to increase her prices, but she felt really uncomfortable about doing that. And having changed those memories, it then felt normal, she said. So toward the end of the session, we'll be offering you an option of a call with Steve, and he will, on that call, he'll help you to identify the results you want to achieve, what's currently holding you back from those results, what childhood memories may be at the root of, that are blocking you from achieving those results, and how to change those memories so that your brain's GPS is automatically keeping you in alignment with success. So on the screen, I'm going to go, before I go on to the next section, on the screen is a QR code that you can use to book that call. And I've also put the URL there in case you're on your phone and you can't use the QR code. And Steve will put the link to that in the chat as well. That QR code will also be on all of the other slides moving forward. So part 2 is the strategy. So how do we do this? Investing any more money or time or effort in marketing or sales or any other efforts, any other actions in your business without changing your implicit childhood memories would be like buying a new engine for your car without changing the GPS to match your new destination. So you'll have this lovely new engine that works perfectly, but you'll still be in the same place because you haven't changed the GPS to match your new desired destination. All other personal development that you do, so visualizations, mindfulness, affirmations, and everything else, those tools will work, but only if your brain isn't already referring to contradicting childhood memories that prove the opposite. Because none of those things can override the evidence that your brain is referring to. So once you've changed your brain's GPS to match the results you want, then you'll automatically find yourself seeing things differently. You'll feel happy to take action that you resist and don't like taking right now. You'll find yourself making different decisions, noticing different opportunities. You'll feel authentically comfortable and confident speaking about your business. You'll be more creative and innovative because you'll have your prefrontal cortex online, and you'll find yourself attracting different people to the ones you're attracting right now. A very important point is that this is not necessarily about trauma. So we have people say to us, but I didn't have a bad childhood. So here's an example that shows you how it doesn't need to be a bad childhood in order for it to be holding you back. At one of our weekend workshops in Seattle, Michelle was telling us that she was in a full-time job at the time, that she wasn't really enjoying, and she really wanted to start her own consultancy business. But she couldn't get herself into a financial position where she was able to leave the full-time job so that she could do that. And she was feeling frustrated. She was feeling held back. She felt helpless to move forward because everything she tried to change her financial situation so that she could start her own business seemed to fail. Using our detective techniques, we helped her to find the link between the financial issues she was experiencing that were keeping her from starting her own business and memories of her parents holding her back from going to the high school that she so desperately wanted to attend. So as you can see, not trauma at all, but her brain was holding her in alignment with that same familiar feeling of who I am is I'm the kind of person who is held back from doing what I desperately want to do. So as an adult, her parents were no longer holding her back. Now money was playing the role of her parents. So we helped her to change all of that. And after her changing that and some other memories, Michelle now runs her own successful coaching and consultancy business. And she actually also moved to Hawaii as a bonus. So how that worked, as Michelle was started to make progress towards her goal of leaving her job, getting into a financial position where she could start her own business, her brain was referring to the fact, the so-called fact, that it's normal for her to be held back from doing what she wanted to do. And it was then producing chemicals that affected her decisions, her judgment, and her risk assessment. And all of those led to the results she was experiencing financially. Changing those childhood memories meant that her brain was then still affecting her decisions, her judgment, and her risk assessment to keep her in alignment, but with the new self-image. And that was that she's the kind of person who's always free to do what she loves. So you can create the business success you want, you can have the freedom you want, and you can impact the world. You just need to change your brain's GPS to match those results, and then the rest is automatic. So part 3 is the solution. So at the Remmert method, we've put all of the missing pieces into a system where we teach you to gain control over your brain chemistry, which means control over your emotions and your cognitive thinking, your creativity, your strategic thinking, your problem solving. We also cover how to find those childhood memories and then how to change them. So we've helped hundreds of people achieve their goals and get results from gaining control over their brain chemistry and changing their brain's GPS. Obviously, we can't go into everybody's story here, but here's just a few of them. And we've created a program called the Accelerated Business Transformation Program. So the program includes our proprietary detective work for finding those implicit negative childhood memories that are currently causing the issues that are holding you back right now. We have a proprietary memory changing technique it works within minutes, so it's very quick, it's gentle, it's enjoyable, there's no need to relive trauma or any negative things, and it lasts. And we have a 2-minute brain chemistry technique that conditions your brain and body to produce lower levels of stress chemicals and higher levels of feel-good chemicals. So everything that we do in this program is laser focused on getting business results, getting the business results you want. So this is not therapy or any other kind of emotional, dealing with or treating emotions or anything like that. We do that, but this program is purely for getting the fastest, getting you to those business results in the fastest, most direct way. So you can book a call with Steve and he will go through, answer your questions and make sure it's a good fit. You can't buy this program online. You can only get it through a call with Steve. Because it's a group program, we want to, of course, make sure that everybody's a good fit. So the program includes lifetime access to our academy, which has everything you need to condition your brain and body to produce lower levels of stress chemicals, higher levels of feel-good chemicals, improving your cognitive thinking and your control of your emotions. It has everything you need to find the negative implicit childhood memories and to change them. It also includes weekly live in-person sessions with me, where I'll take you through the process and we'll troubleshoot any challenges you're having in real time. You'll get the recordings of those sessions as well. Unlimited email support from me between the live sessions and MP3 downloads of all the exercises and techniques. The first bonus for this is a copy of our audiobook in addition to the PDF copy of our book. Our book contains all the science, the scientific references and resources behind our techniques for those who are interested in that, and of course some case studies and examples as well. Bonus number 2 is a fun little thing we came up with as a special accountability incentive. So at the beginning of the week, you choose goals that you want to achieve that week. And if by the end of the week you've achieved that goal, we'll refund you $10 as a special incentive. It's an optional thing. We thought it would be fun. Bonus number 3 is when you feel ready, and if you feel ready, we will give you the opportunity to gain exposure for your business with our audience. So we will do an interview with you on our channel about your business so that you get some publicity that way as well. And finally, for the first 4 people who join the program, I'll include a private one-to-one session with me that you can use whenever you need it. So there's no expiry date on that. And during that call with me, I'll help you identify the specific implicit childhood memories that are holding you back, and then I will help you change them so that by the end of that session, you'll feel good about taking whatever action you need to take instead of any resistance or overwhelm or fear. And very importantly, I can work with you no content. So you don't have to share anything with me. You don't have to share any details of any memories or experiences unless, of course, you want to. So it's a 3-month program and includes everything I've mentioned. And the price is $297 per month. So you can book your call with Steve now, and he will answer your questions. And as I say, this is the only way to sign up for this. We don't sell it in any other way. All right. So let's move on to the Q&A. So Steve, do we have questions? Oh, I see one. Okay, I see one in the so Joanne asks, is this in line with NLP training? Great question, Joanne. So thank you for that. So NLP is similar in that with NLP, you do make changes to memories, but two of the biggest differences. The first one is that we address childhood. So NLP addresses memories from whenever. We specifically address childhood because we know, based on the neuroscience, that all other experiences, all of those other memories you have are based on childhood. So if you think of the challenges, the issues, whatever you're dealing with as weeds, so these weeds are growing, in order to make sure that you get rid of the weeds and only have flowers in your garden, chopping the weeds doesn't help. So you're cutting the branches and leaves off the weeds and even the stem of the weed. That's the equivalent of changing adult memories, any other memories other than childhood memories. Changing the childhood memories is the equivalent of pulling that weed out by the root. It's the roots that are the childhood memories. And then planting the seeds of flowers is the equivalent of the new memories. So that's the biggest difference between NLP. There's a lot of differences, but that's the main difference. The other thing is just our methods for using it is much quicker than the techniques they use in NLP. There are similarities, but it is quicker and more direct. So I hope that answers your question, but let us know if you need more on that. And
Yeah,
Steve, sorry.
Yeah, Odile, there was another question that came in via the chat, and I'm just pulling that up right now. My question is for this program is, how do you gauge safety in taking a risk? Is it simply reframing the risk through altered framing of childhood memories? How is this different from therapy?
Oh, okay, great question. Thank you for sending that in. Yes, so let's say there's a risk. Okay, I'm going to, as I assess a risk, as I look at all the factors, I think I'm making this decision with my conscious mind. I'm weighing all the options and taking into account all of the details and the factors. What's actually happening is my conscious mind is looking at all of that. The unconscious part of my brain is taking that information, weighing it up, and referring to my childhood. Whether I take that risk or not is not based on objective information, whether it would be a good move or not. It's based on, will taking this risk keep me in alignment with my childhood? So If my childhood was full of anxiety and fear, my risk assessment is going to be affected by that, and I'm going to think that making a specific decision is going to be the best one, and the unconscious part of my brain is going to make sure that the choice I make is going to keep me in that familiar state of anxiety and fear. So changing the childhood, so that changing those childhood memories from anxiety and fear to feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling supported, all of that, and peace, all of that, changing those to that, then I'm looking at the same situation, the same options, and now the unconscious part of my brain is referring to the fact that who I am and how the world works is life is fun, life is safe, life is abundant, and everything that I put in my childhood now it's producing the chemicals that make me choose the option that will lead to more of that. So I hope that helps, but let us know if you need more clarification on any of that. Any others?
No, I think that wraps up. There was a
Oh,
response there from.
somebody asked, there is someone asked, when are the live weekly sessions with
Oh,
me?
okay. Yeah.
Yes, so the live weekly sessions are on Wednesdays at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. That's 6:30 p.m. UK time. And depending, we try to get a time that works for most time zones or as many as possible. And if you can't make that time, let us know, and we will see if there's enough people who need a different time. We'll add an additional live session. All right. So was that all of the questions, Steve?
Yes, it is.
Fabulous. Okay, everybody. Well, it was lovely having you all join us, and we will see you on our YouTube channel. Of course, if you're watching the recording of this, please do put in the comments of this video any questions or requests for clarification that you need. And thank you for all the thank yous in the chat. You're very, very welcome. And lots of love to all of you. And we will see you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye for now.